it, climb on a broken chair.
Suppose I fall.
I do not care.
You teach them manners. Welcome to Our Yard, a project exploring the impact sound system culture has had on the UK over the last 50 years. My name's DJ Lemoneye, and for this segment on Our Yard, we'll be focusing on women in sound system culture. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with one woman in particular whose work has laid the foundations to create a legacy for generations to come. A local and international powerhouse that has represented sound system culture over the past 40 years.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for the invite. And I'm Lady V, out of the V Rocket International, based in Nottingham. And when you speak of Nottingham, we speak of two things. We speak of Robin Hood, and you speak of V Rocket International.
All right.
So yeah, Nottingham is very important to me. When I came to the UK from Jamaica back in the 60s, this was the home for me and my parents, my family. So it's important in the sense that we bring music, a message, a story, a journey, a way of life. So it's important for our legacy to live on and to continue beyond my time.
My first kind of introduction to V Rocket was through Belly. Right. So it was through the Great Man parties. So that was something that me and my friends personally, that was a thing that you waited for the year. That was a big thing for Nottingham.
Right.
And that was the big party. So I feel like for V Rocket, the generation-wise, it is still, the vibes are still felt. It's still pending throughout the lines, do you know what I mean? It's not something that has stopped. And a lot of the time for different promoters or sound systems, it comes to a halt. What do you feel like the so-called secret sources for you guys? Like, how did you keep that same energy even though it's no longer started with the founders now?
Well, I think it's important that we believe in youths and trust the youths then. And the good thing for V Rocket is that it's not like, it's a family. It's a family in the sense that you speak of Belly's father and his uncle, their parents, which is Belly's grandparents, and my parents, my late parents. They came over back in the Windrush days, settled in Nottingham, and it's been a family since. We went to school together, me and Belly's uncle and dad, my brothers, they all went to school together. And that legacy started from then. And it's been handed over to different generations over the years. So where it is now and where it's going to go to from then on, from now onwards, the dynasty hopefully will live, because this year it's our 60th. We've been in the business for 60 years, and it's been teamwork, it's been passion, it's been dedication, it's been our life really. So it's been handed down from generation to generation to where it is now. And there is a younger generation beyond Belly now that is a part of V Rocket. My son, DJ Amali, there's Kino. So the legacy lives on.
It does. And even in the doc that's recently come out, Miles was saying in there himself, he was saying, I've got something to prove. So every dance he's touching, he's standing on 10 toes, said, I am representing V Rocket and I'm the next in line, which is, it's a beautiful thing. It's like that friendly family competition of, we're representing before we even touch the stage.
Right.
For represent, like wherever we go, we're V Rocket.
Yes.
So I quite like that. So for you taking it backwards now, because of course you came in after a certain point when, say, Parliament was already working with his brother.
Yes.
What made you think to yourself, did you recognise something was missing, or did you just think, this is where I want to be to, this space is something that I want to get involved in? Was it from watching your dad? Like, what was it that made you take that leap?
Well, I grew up in a musical household. So my sisters left home at a young age. So I was the female amongst my brothers and their friends. When Parliament and Reuben got involved, because my brothers was there before them.
Yes.
Rankin saw the potential of Parliament and Reuben. They had their own youth man sound, Dub City.
Yes.
And he saw the potential, the dedication from them, and brought them over to V-Rocket, which was a bigger sound. They was a youth sound. We was the bigger sound then in Nottingham. And I was waiting to go to college. They would come to the house where the sound was based, and they would be complaining about not being paid to cover their expenses, because, you know, those days it's a hobby, right? And I just said to them one day, look, you need an agent, you need somebody to deal with the bookings, make sure the things you're complaining about is put right. And that was my entry. I just left school, and that was how I got involved.
Okay. Can I ask, what were you studying at the time?
Well, I just left school, and I was going into secretarial. I wanted to be a secretary.
So you was already going into the admin line already, so
yes,
it made sense.
That's right, yes.
Okay. And then did it take much convincing for them to be like, okay, we're going to have you as our manager? Like, did that just come overnight?
It never came overnight. I just think it was destiny. It was something that was meant. My dad used to visit Jamaica often. He used to bring back all the 45s and the LPs and the disco 45s. So music was always coming in. Music was always being played in the house. So it was just a natural thing. And we just decided that when the phone calls came in, I would take the bookings. Okay. And the whole thing just changed from then.
It really does sound like it was just something that, like you're saying, was meant to be. It kind of just worked its way. It just slowly just...
That's right.
Yeah. And then what's one of your first memories? What was one of the first bookings that you did? Do you remember?
My first booking was, I did an event at the Adlib.
Adlib? Was that annoying?
In the Lace Market.
Oh, okay. You're going to have to tell me about this.
Right.
Go on.
So Adlib was an iconic venue in Nottingham. So Fridays and Saturdays would be the normal club night, but on a Monday at the Adlib, it was a roadblock. People would travel from all over the UK to go to Adlib. Monday night, 50p for a brandy. So we're going way back.
Yeah.
So my first event, I kept a DJ clash, where, when I say DJ, not DJ on the decks, but DJs where they're chatting the mic.
Yes.
And I booked David Rodigan.
On your first
booking?
On
my first booking. Right. And it almost feels like yesterday, because it was the first one, I always remember it. And we've kept that relationship with David. I'm his fairy god sister.
Oh.
So for all this time, we've kept that relationship. So I'm no good with dates anymore, but I'm talking way back. That was my first event.
Wow.
And it kicked in. I, not jumping the gun, I decided to build a relationship in Jamaica with studios and artists and other sound systems.
Yeah.
So that was the first, stepping stone to get a feel of keeping my own event.
Okay. And all right, now you've touched on, let's take it back a bit. So when you're building the relationships in Jamaica, going back to, because even those times, I think there's two kind of things of that. Because in those times, as a woman, to be trying to lead business, that was already something that was a difficult scenario.
Yes.
Especially, and I feel like there's two sides to this, especially in Jamaica. But then at the same time, I feel like our culture is quite matriarchal. That I do feel like women kind of tend to lead the family type of home. But when it came to business, do you feel like that was something men were open to then? And it, no. I already said, not at all.
God. Even now it's potentially, I mean, it's improved over the years, but then it's a men's sport. Sound system culture was predominantly male. 99% was male, so it wasn't easy. I was blessed to have my brothers around me, so I had that protection. Yes. It was always a team effort, but going to Jamaica to build that relationship, it was unique in the sense that here is a female that is showing the love and the passion for this business, for the sound system culture. So I started by going to the then studio that was making a lot of noise at the time, Channel 1, Maxwell Avenue. And Just Crew from Ray Symbolic was one of the person that introduced me to U Kim and his brothers. Okay. So that's one of the studios that I first started to go and voice dub plates until I developed a musical relationship with King Jammies. At the time, Tubby's was based in Firehouse, and Jammies also was moved on from there to Waterhouse. And that's where the relationship started as far as Jamaica was concerned.
Okay. And it's interesting you say the fact you had your brothers, because if not, I feel like, especially with dancehall music, sometimes for women it's more you're more sexualized rather than taken seriously in terms of business. So it is a blessing 100% that you had that, like you say, that family unit that still continued throughout the generations now that we can see.
Yes.
But what was that conversation like initially with Channel 1, like building that bridge from first being introduced to the manager himself? How long did it kind of take for him to be like, okay, yeah, I can see you're serious. I'm going to let you start actually cutting dubs in here. Like, what was...
Well, like I said, I was embraced in the sense that I had guidance because there was people that was based in Jamaica that was showing me the craft. Okay. I was amongst them. They was already established. Jalov from 12 Tribe. Okay. Again, they were people that I was amongst, so they would give me guidance. So even though I was miles away from home, there was people that had that respect for the fact that as a female, I was showing the love and the passion for the music. So it was a matter of time. Jamaica was my second home. Yeah. So I would visit and cut songs 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. I would fly into Jersey in America first. Oh, okay. Pick up the dub plates, the blanks from Transco. Oh, okay. Go to Jamaica, and that's where I would voice the dubs them for V-Rocket.
See, that's an interesting journey in itself. Like, it's not even that you're just taking that one trip straight to Jamaica and you've got everything set up there in that one location. You're really having to travel around, build up the resources you need, and then travel again to the second country.
That's right.
Like, yes. That's quite a task. That's quite a task. And you're doing that 3 to 6 times a year.
Yeah, I wouldn't always go to Jersey because the dub plates, the steel would be in Jamaica, but occasionally that would be the route.
Okay. And is it because there was a better quality in Jersey, or did Jamaica just not have like that resource that the actual steel dub plate that you needed?
Well, it depends because no, it's the same thing they would import. It's just that with me doing that, sometime I would go and pick up maybe 50. 25 would sit in a box. So I may go and pick up 50. Sometimes I would travel there and pick up enough where I could leave some with King Jammy's. So if I'm not even in Jamaica and we required songs, they would be there for him to put them on there. Those days, it was just straight to the acetate. No tapes, no dats. Straight on the dubs, on the plates. Any mistakes, that's what you're getting.
No redos.
No redos, no retake.
There's something beautiful about that though, because now I feel like majority of the time, as you'll know yourself, of course, a lot of things are USB. It's technology, it's laptop. Yes. So, yeah, it's a big change. It's a big change.
Technology.
Good, the pros and cons. There's pros and cons, pros and cons. But for that time, what is a track that reminds you of that era? Of you taking those flights to Jersey and then Jamaica to get those things cut, like to get the dubs cut, like what reminds you? Like, you know, when you're on a journey, you have like, you might put on a little song in your headphones to get you through.
There was so much great artists because those days, it's not so much like now. Like we say, times have changed.
Big time.
So those days it was one changer, one turntable. You play the vocals, you flip over the B-side, you play the rhythm, and you would have live entertainers performing on the B-side.
Yes.
So they would be singers, they could be DJs, and they're performing. So that's the era that I'm coming from. In my time, there was loads of artists that used to be hanging around the studio because I pretty much had a strong relationship with King Jammy's. Majority of his great rhythms, we've got them. And more. So in the earlier days, we not necessarily woodcut dub plates that included the name V-Rocket in there. They would mix them, we would get a special mix.
Okay.
That would be unique. So when it came to songs, Shabba in his time was the Gregory Isaac, Admiral Bailey, Sugar Minott. I couldn't keep naming. So to single out a particular track back in them days is extremely difficult.
No, fair enough.
The catalogue is huge.
No, fair enough. I think it's easier in my perspective anyway now to try pick a track than then. Because it's true, like you're saying, the talent, I'm not saying the talent isn't still present, but it was something different. It was something different. Because I think that's really when it was all just building as well and there was more of the passion and excitement for it. Now, I know, what's your perspective even on dancehall now? On that dancehall artist now?
Well, like I say, things and times change. I'm from the old school days, roots, lovers rock, vocal songs, cultural songs, songs with meaning, songs that's telling a story, songs that is a way of life. These days, the younger people are listening to different how things are done differently.
Yeah.
So I have nothing against the younger artists. Back in the days, we used to have flares and Bigfoot pants and and platforms and stuff. Straight pants now. So things are going to change. The songs that we was listening to back then, we're still listening to them now. But the younger artists have gravitated to a different style of music. Yeah. And I say different strokes for different folks.
Fair enough. That's it's a peaceful answer. But I'll leave it. We'll leave it at that one. But in terms of style and fashion, then, because that's an interesting one. Do you feel like during that time you took more? Because of course you were spending a lot of time in Jamaica, traveling back and forth, but of course your home base was here.
Yes.
So where do you feel like you gravitated when it came to fashion? Like, Do you feel like, yeah, go on.
Well, we used to bring the fashion. I used to bring the fashion back from Jamaica here.
Yeah, that was
You know, the hats, they had the buckers and different styles. So not just bringing the music here, right? We would bring the latest caps and the latest hats, the beavers and the look that was going on over there. So the music comes with fashion. It's hand in hand. The style of dressing over there would reflect the style of dressing here. So the fashion would be a part of the music.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you even look at our documentary, you will see the guys in some of the hats that I used to bring back, completely different back then. So it came hand in hand. The music and fashion was hand in hand.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense because, like you say, you can't really have one without the other because they both inspire one another. And then realistically, when it comes to dancehall as well, that's a big part. That's a big part of the dance. You can't come in not dressed a certain type of way. You have to.
But even now, we speak of the younger generation and the younger artists, the artists now, the Skilly Bangs, the Valiant, and those artists. If you go into dancehall now, a lot of the female, they're dressing skimpy. So again, maybe what they're feeding through their music reflects in the parties.
And to be honest, it definitely does. It definitely does. Like, as much as I'm technically new school, when it comes to music, I definitely prefer old school dance. I want all day, every day.
Yes.
Now, personally, I'm not really a big fan of the new music. It doesn't hold the same message. And of course, we're in a different era. People are interested in different things. So fair enough, completely, like you said yourself, fair enough. Everyone's got their own vibe that they want to bring to the dance. And that's absolutely cool because we're not going to take away from what people are bringing now, because at the same time, they're bringing vibes. Like some of the tunes and some of the dances, it's a vibe.
Different strokes are different.
Exactly.
Vibes.
But it definitely is, for me personally, missing that soul.
Yes.
It doesn't have that connection now. You don't feel sweet in the dance. It's more... It makes sense why people come in the dance.
It's a different era.
Yes, it is. Going backwards a little piece, let's just rewind, because I got ahead of myself. I started getting excited about the story. But just to start backwards a little bit. So when your parents first came here, do you know why they chose Nottingham? Because they could have gone anywhere in the UK.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think there was other people in Nottingham that they knew. But the main thing was my aunt came with her husband first. That's my dad's sister.
Okay.
They chose Nottingham. And after they arrived in Nottingham, she then sent for my dad. So that's the answer to the question. Why did my aunt choose Nottingham? So then my dad sent for my mom and one of my sisters, and we sort of came up in pairs. So it's just one member of the family. My youngest brother is the only one of my siblings that was born in the UK. The rest of us was born in Jamaica.
Okay. How old were you when you reached Nottingham?
I was 6 going into 7.
Okay. Do you remember much? Like, do you have a lot of memories growing up in Jamaica up until 6?
I do. My brothers and sisters lived in Tarspen.
Okay.
One of my brother and myself lived with my mom's best friend. So I went to barrack school out there. I don't have loads of memories.
Yeah, you were young.
But, you know, I remember the school I went to. I remember things that we used to do before we came here. And yeah.
Okay. Were there any like children's games in particular you used to play?
Marbles.
Marbles. Yeah, that one's just crosses all borders. Everyone loves little marbles. So wait, in my head, I can't not say this. Did you ever used to play the game? What is it called now? Sorry, this is my granddad in my head. But there was a game that my granddad used to tell me about, and it was like a thing that you would speak. It's like a story kind of game, and you'd say, "Did you go to the market?" You don't know already. Already, you've let me down. Did you go? All right, I've got to say it now. But it's like, did you go to the market? And you'd say, "Yes, mama."
Yes, mama. Yes, papa.
Yes. You see my mother?
Yes, mama.
What she gave you?
Bread and cheese.
Where's my share?
Up in the air.
How should I
reach it? Climb on a broken chair.
Suppose I fall.
I do not care.
Who teach their mothers? Oh gosh.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, so them little things.
Little things.
But when you then came here now then, what was the biggest change for you? Like, do you remember coming and thinking, I don't like it here? Did you experience a different type of environment? Was it welcoming? Do you feel like it was a bit racist? What was your initial thoughts growing up?
Well, my younger days, obviously, there was no venues for black people to party. So my parents, this is how the sound system came about. They built a 50-watt component set. I won't even call it a sound system. A little component set for the local community. So they used to keep what we call house parties, blues parties. Not just in the house at Alfred Street, but the sound used to play Union Road, it used to play Cramer Street. The local community from back home would come to the house. My parents would cook food and sell. People would play dominoes, they'd play ludi. And it was creating their own entertainment because black people wasn't allowed to go into clubs.
And that's just crazy to even think, because there's one thing, it being that kind of bad mind energy and not allowing you to play in the clubs and not allowing people to actually DJ there, that's one thing. But you actually weren't allowed in the clubs.
No.
And it was like you weren't allowed in the venues at all.
No.
That's nuts.
To begin with, that was the early experience that black people was experiencing back in those days. So this is how blues parties and house parties came about.
By creating your own sense of community.
That's right.
And like you're saying, how house parties came about, without blues, we wouldn't have house parties.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. We call it blues parties, which is another definition to say house parties. Yes.
But in saying that, I mean, because now people they'd throw a house party, but they wouldn't understand the fact that it came from
back in them days.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's just like, yeah, it's our house party, but you don't recognise us because people weren't allowed in venues.
Yeah, so you go, you can buy food, you listen to music till early hours in the morning. Blues parties went from those time till the great Ice and Green Flats.
Yes.
If you remember the flats, Ice and Green Flats. And people would go to the blues after the clubs. This is moving forward, when we could get into clubs. So we'd go to maybe Tally-Yo or the Ad-Lib or wherever the club would be. When the clubs finish, blues party. So you get there and the time it finishes is daylight. And you're just to the nines on the way home and people's at the bus stop waiting for the bus to go to work. And you're just heading home 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Even in places, stepping outside of Nottingham and you go to London to a blues party. I remember going to London, going to a blues party, 5 a.m, and came out there at 12 midday.
No.
And I thought, no, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's too far. You know, there's
Crazy.
no behaviour.
Yes.
Till 12 midday.
12 midday.
And people the party was still
full.
That's mad. What? So would you say that's one of the best blues parties you would have gone to?
I wouldn't say it would be the best,
Okay.
but everybody would have their memories
Yes.
of blues parties in their days.
Yeah, that's true.
Ice and Green and some of the blues parties back in the days. Those days are long gone. Would they ever come back? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but I really hope that they do. Even things like, so and I was saying earlier, my intro to V Rocket, and like I've my memories of going to like the Great Man parties, and I'll never forget there was one we were out till 6 a.m. and the sun was coming up. No one wanted to go home, but it was the fact was partying from say midnight till 6 a.m.
in the morning. Yes,
and it's
well, the blues parties used to go on later than that, 8, 9, 10.
And this is the thing.
Yep.
And even the 6 a.m. ones, you're not really seeing that anymore. Things finishing at 2, 3. It's like
That's right.
that's it.
And clubs diminishing and to get
More and
venues.
more. Yes, more and more and more.
We may end up back in the days of blues parties.
Do you think that's a bad thing?
Space-wise, not a good thing. We've got to be able to get into venues where we can put on our clothes and have a good time.
And that's true, because realistically, although ha-ha-heeing about it,
Yeah.
it would be going backwards, like you're saying. We fought so hard to actually get into spaces where we can come out and dress nicely.
Dress up and dress nice and have a good time.
Exactly. And be allowed to take up space in spaces where we deserve to be, rather than having to be hidden up in
It's still been a stereotype thing where they try to shut our music out of venues.
Mm-hmm. Even till now, majority of events, Nottingham anyway, when it comes to dancehall events, it's very rare that they'll be in the city centre.
Very rare.
Extremely. And it's very frustrating.
And it's a slight divide.
Yes.
Because you get a different attendance to the people who go to the venues outside of the city centre.
Completely different. But I think both sides are missing out, because if you were to bring...
Absolutely.
100%, you're missing out on two different types of cultures entering these spaces.
No, well, the thing is, we should all be together.
Agreed.
Should be one.
And it brings more of a vibe to the dance, to be honest, because it equals and balances things out in a lot more of a positive way.
Yes.
So hopefully, it's crazy to say this is the 60th year.
60 years.
60 years of V Rocket.
1964.
Whew. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a blessing that is the case. And I'm grateful that I've been able to experience V Rocket growing up and to see you guys in your 60th year. Like, it's a beautiful thing. But I hope also that as generations continue, things are able to change.
Yes.
Because we do need to see less of a divide. It's 2024. That divide needs to diminish a little piece now. But, so what was the inspiration? I already know, but the listeners may not. So what was the inspiration behind V Rocket? The name, the sound system itself. Of course, we've spoken on wanting to create community that wasn't there and creating spaces for the Jamaicans that weren't allowed into certain spaces, or just black people in general. As a matter of fact, those times, do you feel like it was mainly just Jamaicans in the dance? Was it a mix of the community? What were you seeing at that time?
At the time, those days, predominantly Jamaicans.
I thought as much.
Predominantly. It was about weekends going out and putting aside issues, coming together and having a good time. Musically good time. Meeting up with people, having a drink together. And those days are long gone.
I don't like.
They're long gone. It's when I say long gone, it's things has moved on. Technology has moved on. The passion we've always had, we would always keep, right? building the equipment, building the sound, voicing songs, going to record shops, the excitement of going to get your vinyls at a record shop. You'd go into a record shop and there would be loads of other sounds. There may be 3 or 4 copies of a bad song, but there's 7 people in the record shop. How do you get your hands on a copy when there's only 4 copies? It's not a bidding thing, it's about skill. How do you get the DJ behind the counter to put your song in your box of collection? And obviously once you've bought your songs and you go back home, the first thing you want to do is go through your selection, what you've just bought. You know, putting money together to be able to go and pick up your latest selection, right? DJs don't have that experience anymore because they go on the internet. There's DJs that's never bought a 45 in their life.
It's true.
Never. They've never experienced having to save to be able to go to the record shop and pick up all the latest imports coming in from Jamaica. Those was the joyful days. Going on a building site and see plywood that's left to build houses, right?
Yeah.
But we can't afford it, so we'll help ourselves to a couple of sheets.
Yeah. You have to...
So we can build some boxes. My dad was a carpenter by trade, so he used to build his own sound boxes. And people like Parliament and Ruben learned a trade from my dad building our own speaker boxes. And customized amplifiers. These days, a lot of the sound system, back in those days, sound system had their identity. You can go into a dance and you can know from the top end or from the bass line what sound is strung up in there playing. Now, it's a lot of digital stuff.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of the sound are sounding similar. Fortunate for us, we've still got our builder that builds our amplifiers. We design our own cabinets. Nice. Right, so we still try to keep the authenticity as well as staying current with the current stuff. So we're still using analog amplifiers, for instance, as opposed to digital stuff. So, you know, when we talk about the importance of then, the changes, a lot of the fun and excitement and things what we used to do back then is not being done now because technology's changed.
I hear you. And it's unfortunate because as a DJ myself now, how you're, like, even the way your eyes are lighting up speaking about it, to have experienced that and that competitiveness and, all right, we've got to be up at this time and we've got to be the first people, you need to build that relationship, like you're saying, with
the record shop, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when new songs come in, we probably get a call. Some new tune come in, you know. We're going to put your copy aside. Those days are gone. It's so easy now for DJs to just go online and download.
Wait, and I think on one hand it's a good thing, but then you lose that, like you're saying, that special element about what music and clash culture was really about, because it's like, yo, you think you're gonna, you don't know what I've got.
The competitiveness. Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone, and this is one thing that I personally notice now. I feel like dancers, they do sound quite similar because everyone has the opportunity to have
the same songs.
Yeah, everyone's got the same, what's it called? At their fingertips, everyone has the same opportunity, the same click of the finger. Right. Everyone can just download now.
So back in our days when I used to cut dub plates, or even go to Jamaica to pick up and we get vinyls, you know, you could mix songs that it's probably the same song, but it's mixed different. The engineer give you a different mix to the other sound. Those days you can string up with another sound and you can say, this song can only be played by us, right? And if anybody else plays it, we're going to break it.
Oh, you could really?
Yes.
Okay.
But now, it's different.
But you can feel that. Even say, if we look back to, say, for instance, say Sting, and you look at where it is, well, it's not even a thing now, realistically. But just even that in itself, the way that evolved and completely changed, like the whole competitiveness and the way that people used to clash each other, to then when it just turned into like a stage performance. Like, you lost the the whole meaning behind it.
But the thing is, the clash industry is still alive. It may not be as massive as it was.
Yes.
But it's important that we keep it alive.
Agreed.
And we keep it going.
It's more than important, because if not, after, say, my generation, if it's not kept now, it would fizzle.
Yes.
And it's very important.
And we've got to get the young people interested, because my generation, some is no longer here.
Yeah.
Music is changing. The younger people are listening to different genres. Mm-hmm. So is it a case that we have to make changes? Because it's about the audience. Yeah. It's not always about the sound. It's about what people is prepared to buy into. Am I going to be spending money to go and listen to songs that they don't relate to? So, we've got to look at keeping with the times, looking at what the younger people are listening to. But more important, we've got to keep them listening to the authenticity of reggae music. So, it would be nice to see some of the great producers from back in the days are no longer here. Yeah. But, and a lot of music is being produced at home. So, it's about moving with the time, really.
And you can see that is genuinely what V-Rocket have done. And that's why you've been able to get to the 60th. And God willing, continue. When you're speaking of authenticity, how did you manage when you were starting out and you're having to deal with different time zones, build with and try and network with bigger organizations? How did you keep that authenticity at the core of what you were doing? Because I think especially during that time, how I was saying, where people weren't allowed into certain venues, the respect for Jamaicans, black people in general, and just dancehall culture was not there, especially in Britain. How did you manage to keep that core and build those relationships to get into venues and things like that?
Well, it's about it's what you stand for. What you stand for is you approach a venue, you let them know what genre of music you're dealing with. You've got to make sure that your security and people feel comfortable to go to what you're doing. So for us, people like Parliament and Ruben, myself, Rankin, and the era that we came up in, like I said, the music was different then. We was the radio. The sound system then was the radio. There wasn't so much pirate state. There was no pirate stations then. So the music spoke for itself. And a lot of the mainstream radios didn't want to play reggae music. It was powerful. The message was powerful. So it was about what artists was putting out there around our time, even the DJs. We speak of BQ, Daddy U-Roy, all those kind of DJs back then. Yeah. Different to the caliber of DJs now, right? That area, and then there's this era. But at the end of the day, it's what you're getting at any given time. So those days was a peaceful time. where you go to venues and there's no issues.
Really? I would have thought it would have been the opposite.
No. You go to venues and people have a good time. Over time, things started to change. We've got to be real. We've got to be honest.
Yeah. No.
People have seen the changes.
100%. And I think that's unfortunate. And what frustrates me personally about being in Nottingham, the fact that it's out of the city centre, it creates more obstacles and more, I feel like it creates more of an openness for people to create problems. Because if it was city centre, you had certain type of security and a different type of people in the dance. So you got like how we're saying the city centre people, if they were in the same dance as the people that were outside of the city centre, you've got more of a little bit of a balance. I feel like people might behave themselves in a different way.
Well, for promoters, they can tell you risk assessment now is different to risk assessment then. That's one way of putting it.
Then it was, is there a fire exit? Yes.
How many?
Honestly, was that as simple as it was?
Mm-hmm.
Big difference. Wow. Well, from venues and making sure you with your time zones, we can't not speak on the legendary tour that V-Rocket took to Jamaica. We cannot not touch on that. So
that was the game changer.
Yeah.
1987.
I'd like to explain to the people what led to you taking that tour. Like, what was before you went on that tour, how many events had you already done in Nottingham up until that point?
Oh, crazy amount. How it came about was every year at the beginning of every year, we would sit and have a discussion what we wanted to achieve for that year. And majority of the people in the sound was born in the UK. And as a discussion, we just thought it would be a great idea to fundraise and to save and to go to Jamaica to see the motherland where it all started from. The experience to go to Jamaica and to take the sound system would be something of an experience that undescribable. So we decided that we're going to fundraise, we're going to do events, and we're going to go to Jamaica to do a tour to see where it's coming from and for the guys them to experience where it all came from, where it all started from.
The origins of it all.
So we did just that, and when the day came that the sound was going to be shipped off because it's going to be on the waters for a period of time.
Yeah.
So we're going to send the sound ahead of us. There is a shipping company that a lot of the local Nottingham community use called Transpac.
Yes.
So we booked it in with them, and when the van came to pick the equipment up, Parliament says, we want to go to where it's going to be packed to make sure everything is packed correctly. So off we went. I think they're based in Ripley, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so Nottinghamshire, it's just outskirts.
Yeah. And drove down there, and I remember there was a pallet with a Volvo, brand new Volvo on top. And the sound was packed under the Volvo, all the boxes. We bought our own generator to run the power for the equipment, because 240 current here, 110, 120 over there.
Okay.
So we got our own generator that we had to purchase. I remember we're going to Grantham and finding this little generator that we bought. And off the sound was shipped. And the day that we was boarding the flight was unbelievable. So we'd organised that we would do fundraising events for Jacks Hill Community Centre, Max Hill Park Children's Home, and other places that any revenues or stringing up anywhere, and if there was any funds that came in, we would leave it in Jamaica. And 15 of us went.
Wow, that's a big trip. That's a
15.
big trip.
And it wasn't easy because when we got there to clear the equipment, they said that although we've got the paperwork for the equipment to return back to the UK, they wanted a deposit to make sure that we wasn't going to be selling the equipment in Jamaica. And 80,000 Jamaican dollars was a hell of a lot of money. There was no way we was going to be able to do that. So we reached out to politicians, we reached out to... we're young people. We're coming from the UK. This is what we're doing, right? We had no success, and eventually it so happened that the lady that worked for the agent in Jamaica that worked for Transpac spoke to the owners in England, and they put the deposit up for us.
Oh, wow.
Because they believed in what we was doing. They was very impressed with what we was doing, and they put the money up, and we got the equipment cleared, got the truck, and headed off down to where we was going to be based, which was Old Harbour Bay.
That's a blessing.
And then, obviously, the first thing we had to do was string up the sound, make sure everything's working properly. But the concern was, is the generator going to work? One person was in charge of that. The sound was strung up. When he pulled that string on the generator and everything came up and the sound came on, the whole of that area headed in one direction.
Locked to the
Old Harbour Bay. Roadblock.
Wow. And so when you set up, I'm guessing you were all set up like it was on the street.
No, we was in a yard.
Okay.
We was in a big yard.
Okay.
Where we were staying. And strung up, and with it being outdoor, the sound travels. And people just said, the foreign sound there, the foreign sound there. And this is where we met, again, a lot of artists that was working on the sound, the days where you would have singers and DJs performing live on the sound. So, you know, some of the DJs that you'd be familiar with that we spoke about in the documentary.
Yes.
That's when we met some of them.
Nice.
The late Edgington, Teacher Desi, Penny Irie, Skyfish Jr., Admiral Tibet, Courtney Melody, to name just a few. Crazy.
It's more than crazy.
So we travelled all over the island.
Oh, wow.
All over the island. North Coast, Kingston, Spanish Town, and spent 12 weeks.
That's beautiful. 15 of you.
15.
And did you all stay together in each of the...
All stayed together. All stayed together.
I can imagine that would have been fun. There would have been a lot of different dynamics going on.
It was amazing. Eating together, going to studio every day. Some days I'd be at studio every day.
Yeah, King Jammy said he would leave the studio and you would still be there.
We'd still be there. 10, 11 o'clock at night.
And were you just immersed in the music, or were you finding songs that you wanted to create into dubs? Like, what was it that would make it?
It was everything. Rhythms, finding rhythms, voicing dub plates constantly. Cockatee, Gregory Isaac, Shabba. Oh, I could go on and on. And it solidified the relationship with us and Jammies.
Yes.
And then, obviously, coming back to the UK, after that tour was just something else.
I can only imagine. Do you remember what song played when you first strung it up? When people started flocking, do you remember what song that you played?
I wouldn't remember that. It's
Too specific. Too
specific.
No, fair enough. All right. So in terms of Marcus Garvey Centre, which of course is a massive community hub for Nottingham.
Yes.
Especially for the Jamaican community. This is where you could feel home.
Yes.
You had a residency there.
Yes.
How long did that residency last? How did that come apart? How did that come to fruition even?
Right, so Marcus Garvey actually started on Heathcote Street before Lenton Boulevard.
Oh.
Small place.
Okay.
So when there was a rally to get the building, we was a part of that. So moving to Lenton Boulevard, Tyrone would allow us to do sound checks in there at any given time. It's an iconic building. It's an international building because it's had so much international artists and sound systems that's performed there over the many, many years. I take my hat off to Tyrone and the Nottingham community because to keep the doors open for that venue for so long, you've got to commend him.
No, it's true, especially with how we've said with different trouble and how things have changed over time.
That's right.
In order to be able to tick off those boxes and keep everyone appeased.
And also the community supporting. I remember, New Year's Eve back in the days, the queue would be at the front door all the way out onto Lenton Boulevard to be in there before midnight. So the Garvey has been a phenomenal venue for the local community. Yes. And long live the Garvey.
I'm here with you for that. And whilst you were there, whilst you had your residency, I know you've already touched on a few and there's so many names you could say. What were the residency, who did you invite whilst you had your residency there as acts that stand out to you?
I remember we did Maxi Priest's very first stage show for Maxi Priest at the Pally in Nottingham. But then we brought him to the Marcus Garvey Centre. We had to turn people away. You could physically run off the stage to the back of the hall without falling on the floor.
That's nuts.
I can talk about crazy events. Beanie Man, Dancehall Queen. Mm-hmm. When I did we did Dancehall Queen there. Beanie Man came to host it. Morgan Heritage, Marcia Griffiths, John Holt. I could go on the list.
Endless.
King Yellowman.
Endless.
Endless amount of amazing artists.
Arguably, Marcus Garvey and V Rocket are what brought so much joy to the Jamaican community.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and I've not even touched on sound systems that's been there. Mighty Crown, Saxon, Coxon, Unity, Java. There's so many sounds that I don't want to keep... And obviously the local sounds, all the local sounds that you can think of, every single one of them that has been a part of the Nottingham community has played in the Marcus Garvey Centre.
Cornerstone.
Absolute amazing. And long live the Garvey.
Yes, man. And when we speak of sound systems, we've got to speak about sound clashing as well.
Absolutely.
We have to.
100%.
So which sounds would you say were your biggest rivals?
Saxon
sounds.
Hands down. We had other rivals, but the biggest rivalry, Saxon.
Is there a certain moment in time you remember in particular thinking they might have us here?
Say again?
Is there a certain moment in time, like a certain event, where you remember thinking, like you're feeling hot and thinking they might have us on this one?
There was nights for us, there was night for them. I can talk of different nights, different places with us and Saxon. One of the most memorable was Cricklewood in London. Okay. I think that was the last clash we had with Saxon.
Okay.
They had obviously their team. Philip Levi, Musled the owner. You had all his acts, all his DJs, Tipper Irie, Miss Irie, Smiley Culture.
Yes.
They're a legend.
The list, as we've said, is crazy.
But we used to bring in, they had that UK flavour. But V-Rocket had the Jamaica flavour. That flavour that we brought from Jamaica with us.
Yes.
So we used to bring over DJs and singers to perform on our sound. Mm-hmm. So that night we had Penny Irie, we had Teacher Desi, we had Lecturer.
Okay.
That night was crazy. So like I said, there was nights, MFM in Northampton. I wasn't actually at that event. Okay. I was in Jamaica, but I went to Jamaica to prepare for that clash.
I like that. I like that, the preparation behind it.
They had just come back from a Jamaica tour that, admittedly, didn't go too well. Fair. The people who was organising it did let them down. I bumped into them while I was there.
The people that organised it?
No, bumped into Saxon.
Oh, okay.
Right? And they made sure to tell me, make sure you're prepared, Lady V, because the first clash is going to be with you guys. I says, don't worry about us, worry about yourself. That night, that era was when Admiral Bailey had the big song, Nowhere No Better Than Yard. That was the number one song. That's the song we signed on with that night. And that night we had Trevor Sparks, who's Nottingham born. Yes. He'd moved to America. He was in the country at the time. And we had, obviously, our local guys, them that DJ on the sound, but we also had Admiral Tibet, who actually bought the dub plates up that we was going to be playing that night. So I'm at a dance in Jamaica while that big clash is taking place. So you can imagine, first thing in the morning as I got up, I ran around the corner to ask that other phone, can I make a reverse phone call? How did the clash go? Hands down. The evidence is there.
Okay. And so I was going to follow and say, what tune would you say when Mash were dancing the clash? But from that,
the first song that was played, once you can play the biggest song at the time as your introduction song, you know what time it is.
You're already on the good foot. You're already setting the level. You're setting the tone. Well, on a quick one, what is the story of becoming one of the leading promoters in the UK, separate to V-Rocket? Of course, I feel like the journeys, of course, wrap into one another.
It does, because like I said, it's teamwork. So Reggae Girls come on the scene. This is when I started to, there was a period of time where it was well over a decade that there was no sound clashes being kept in the UK. And I decided to come with the UK Cup Clash, which was a very famous clash over the years. Started it in 2002 at the Marcus Garvey. And obviously, it was going to be far too big for the Garvey the following year. We moved it to London. And it ended up becoming the home for Stratford Rex. And all the dinosaurs embraced the stage over the years. So that was one of the biggest, if not the biggest brand for myself. I've done a ton load of stage shows over the years. Currently, the ones that I would say more nearer the time would be Full 100, 2016, 2018 also, Rewind Fast Forward, another Clash brand that I did called Winner Takes All.
Yes.
So, although it seems as if it's singled out, it's still a part of the OV Rocket Dynasty.
It's just another branch.
It's just that's right, yeah.
How, and we've touched on this slightly, how would you say promotion's changed over the years?
It's not easy. A lot of things now is becoming, since the pandemic, there's a hell of a lot more outdoor events. It's like 6 months or 4 months outside, the rest of the months inside. A lot more festivals now.
Yeah.
And a lot of the headline acts and the acts that we would want to do indoors now are extremely expensive. They're now more doing festivals as to club nights. So the whole thing's changed. Not, but moving forward, I think more festivals are more the thing now, where a lot of these headline acts are gravitating to more than coming to do the tours that they'd once do before.
Yeah.
And obviously venues are very difficult to find. The big venues are hard to find, and cost of booking these acts is very difficult.
In comparison. No, it makes sense.
In comparison to back in the days.
It makes sense. And with a tune again, to run with it, what would be a song that represents the UK Clash for you? Like, what's a classic tune for you?
Oh, wow. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. There's so many. You got the Bounty Killers.
Ooh.
You've got
that catalogue alone.
Maybe say a tenor saw.
Okay.
When you can play certain artists that another sound finds difficult to play. That's a difficult one.
We'll take your first answer. It is a hard one. All right. Last. I'm sorry, guys. Last. It's the last. We're rapping. What would you say would be your opening tune? Yeah, now, in 2024, what would you say is your opening tune of the night?
It depends
Go on.
on the type of event it is.
Okay.
So if it's a dancehall event, it would be different to if it's a foundation type event. If we're talking if Lady V personally then
Yes,
was going to be DJing at a big people event,
yes,
I may start with maybe a Bob Marley.
Okay. Which any in particular?
I think it depends on the vibe at the time.
All right, let's set the mood. Let's set the tone. We're at Marcus. It's a revival event. You've got about 80 people in there right now. Everyone's just doing a little rock. No one's, I mean, it's just easing in. It's easing in. What are you playing to make people really want to start to be like, okay, we're happy to be here.
I like to bring people together, so maybe a One Love.
Okay.
I like to bring people together.
No, I see that for the start. And what would be the peak tune of the night?
Again, it depends on the vibe.
I know it's the thing is, it's a hard one. It's easy to ask it, but you have to be in the moment.
Because you have to be in the moment. You have to see what people are gravitating to at the time. The catalogue is so big. There's so much great artists. It could be a John Holt. It could be a Freddie McGregor.
Okay.
Push come to shove.
Okay.
A classic.
Okay.
It could be anything.
All right. We're building. We're building.
Like, along the lines.
Okay. And what would be your sign off? Everyone's going home. What we signing off with?
I'd go for the Dennis Brown dub plate. V Rocket will always be my sound for life.
Oh, I like that. That's special. Yeah, okay, I like that.
It's a classic.
No, it is a classic, and it ties in. It ties in perfectly.
Yes.
Last question. The last all and the be all and end all. So, as we've spoken on generations, and as a female DJ and promoter myself coming up, what would be your advice for? Yeah, what would be your advice for women now wanting to have that legacy that you've created and navigating the music industry? Is there anything you would do differently? What would you say?
My advice would be, don't think this is a culture for just the male. Female work hard. There's great DJs. There's females that I know own their own sound system. So I'd say be strong. Be dedicated. Follow your dream. Keep that passion. And if it's something you enjoy.
Yeah, man.
Enjoy. And it's always great to work together. Reach out to each other.
This is a thing that's very true. Collaboration, and like you're saying, the whole way that you've come through is with a team.
And it's never difficult to pick up the phone. I'm always available.
I'm taking it on board. It's on radio. You've said it.
Advice. Working together and keeping your own events.
Yes.
That's where I started. That's where I developed the love for it and becoming independent and growing. Mm-hmm. So if it's something you're enjoying, follow your dreams. Be strong, be positive, do your thing, and don't let nobody put you off.
Thank you. Honestly, from me, just as an individual, thank you. And from the women that are listening today, and just people that are coming up, like, we appreciate you paving the way and giving us the opportunity.
And for the promoters, a message to your promoters, please book more female DJs.
Thank you. It's 2024, it's time now. It's time. There's no question about it. But to sign off, I think it's important. We've spoken on promotion. You have an event coming up.
Yes, it's history in the making. It's the first sound system concert. Ooh. And that word is important.
Yeah.
World Bash.
Okay.
The first sound system concert that's going to be taking place on May 5th. It's a bank holiday Sunday. No work on Monday at the O2 Academy in Birmingham. And it features, it's the UK edition where legends are going to meet rivals. And when we talk about legends meeting rivals, we're talking about sounds from back in the days and sounds of now. So we're talking about the David Rodigans, the V Rockets, the Saxon, LP. We're talking about Bodyguard, Bass Odyssey, Kilimanjaro. And then we speak about the rivalries, Code Red, Empire from Birmingham, and the River Nile Crocodile from Africa, South Sudan, Dynamic. So 10 p.m. until 5 a.m., make sure you get your tickets. Tickets are flying. £45. You get your tickets on Ticketmaster. Access tickets for all use skiddle.com or all your usual outlets throughout the UK.
And that's it, man. Don't miss out. Don't not miss out.
Legendary no entry Saturdays. After 2 a.m. And you don't want to be getting there any later than 11 o'clock. You want to be there from the early juggling starts. It's going to be a movie.
No, it sounds like it's going to be a different type of
people are going to be coming in from all over the world. America, Canada, Europe. So don't leave it till last minute. Get those tickets.
You heard it here first, man. And can you repeat just the date one more time?
May 5th, O2 Academy, Birmingham, World Bash, the UK edition.
You've heard it here, man. Get your tickets. Don't miss out. Do not miss out. All right, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure being here.
100%. Thank you again, once again, for coming.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Legacy lives on, man. 60th year.
60th year. And look out for the 60th anniversary
Yes.
event.
Most definitely.
That will be